Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for tonight's team call. I want to get started right away and I'll do announcements at the end of the call. But we have Lisa Hansen, who I think most of you know, but she is my upline coach. So in the Beachbody world, she's kind of like our grandma, but not like in that way. That's why I said in the Beachbody world, she's like our grandma that we love very, very much. And she's been the most biggest supporter of me on this journey, and if it wasn't for her, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. And she always comes with so much wisdom and just dropping like truth bombs left and right. So make sure that you're listening, make sure that you have a pen and paper, and really take a note of what Lisa's sharing with us, because she is obviously, I posted in the team page, $1 million earner with Beachbody, and that's freaking incredible. And I remember one time when I was dealing with money issues after I left my full-time job, I was like, I almost had this guilty feeling like, how dare I deserve to earn money? And she's like, well, don't you want to earn $1 million? I'm like, I guess so. And then ever since then, that's when I really started wondering why did I feel that way, and I started digging deeper and deeper. And two weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, me and Leia went to New York City to hear this amazing chick talk about your money mindset and what's holding you back and all that stuff. So Lisa happily said that she would talk on this. So Lisa, thank you for hopping on, and I'm just gonna let you take it away.
I gotta get my granny glasses. Hold on a second.
You're a young grandma.
Hey, I'm still in my 40s. Hey everyone, so glad to be here. When Rose asked me to speak about this topic, I was thrilled because it's something that I have worked on a lot. It's something that I didn't know I had to work on at all. Had no clue that it was even an issue. And it's something that I still work with to this day. And so a little bit of how this started for me was a lot of you probably know that I was almost on welfare. And I had my daughter who was 2.5, 3. And I had to move back home with my parents because I had over $50,000 in credit card debt. And so when this business came along, I saw it as a way to totally go after something to change my life. And at that time, I was looking at it from a perspective of, geez, I can really make some money here and really dig myself out of this hole. So in the beginning, it was more of my first goal was to make $300 a month, and I could pay for my car payment. And once I got there, I was like, oh, well, that was easy. Next thing I can do is now I want $1,300 a month because I wanted to send my daughter to a private school and I wanted to move out of my parents' house. So I calculated that if I made an extra $1,000 a month, then I would be able to do that. And that was attainable and that was believable to me. So I already had a certain mindset of how much I could earn and how much I perceived myself to be worth. And because previous jobs I had, I would make anywhere around $50,000 to $60,000 a year. I had that, what they call a financial blueprint. It was something that I had already made that I knew I could reach again. So when that goal was reached, I said, well, if I make $1,000 a week, I can leave my job and I can do Beachbody full time. Because I had already made $1,000 a week in my other business, that was believable to me, so I could do it. Then I started creeping up towards where I really wanted to get to the 100,000 mark, and that is when I started to realize I had some blocks. And when I started making $2,000 a week, it was wow. It was like, wow, this is the most I've ever made. This is fantastic. But I started to realize that I still wasn't good with money. Even though I paid off all my debt, I still had a kind of a weird feeling around it. And the same can go for rank. So I had a financial blueprint. And at that time, I started to really look at why was it so believable for me to earn this other money? But then I kind of got stuck at a certain point. And so I started to dig deeper into what they call, everyone has a financial ceiling. And a lot of times it's your earning potential based on your past experiences. So for me, it was based on what I've made in the past, or it's what your parents made, or it's, maybe separately or together, this financial blueprint. And what we don't realize is that we have programming from our conditioning of society and our upbringing around money. So I was stuck at a certain rank, and I was stuck at $2,000 a week for a really long time until I started to really dive into personal development around this topic of money. Because money's kind of funny. Money's kind of like, we don't really talk about it, and we don't talk about how much debt we have, and we don't really talk about how much we have in the bank. And, it's kind of iffy. Like, do we even talk about, to this day, I have to say that one of my blocks that I have is that I don't love to talk about it on Facebook. It feels uncomfortable to me. So I have to go dig back in. Where did that come from? So your programming comes from the conditioning that you heard when you were growing up. So it can be all sorts of different things. So what I'd like to do is, instead of going into, the ways that you can turn it around, I'd like to just have you guys grab a pen and paper if you don't have one already. And I'm just going to take a moment to ask you all a few questions to kind of get you on the same page of what I'm talking about here. What is this financial blueprint? What is this mindset that I have about money? The best way to do it is to just do a little exercise with you to get you to see where it possibly could be coming from. So I'm just going to have you take a minute and take a deep breath. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and just jot down 1 or 2 sentences, whatever comes to mind when I ask you these questions. And this is going to give you a little bit of an inkling about not only what you feel like you're worth, but what are your beliefs around money, and where are some of the areas that they might be coming from. All right, so the first one is, when I think about rich people, I think, and jot down, what's the first thing that you think about when you think about rich people? Okay, the next one is, to me, money is, and then complete that sentence. Okay, the next one is, growing up. So think about when you were young and you're a child at home. Growing up, I was taught that people who have money are, and complete that sentence. The next one is, when I think about what it would be like to make more money, I think this. And then one more that we'll do is, in my religious upbringing, so either in church or spirituality, I was taught that money was, and then complete that. So you can keep that and expand on that later and go back to it later. and you can reflect on where did some of these beliefs come from. But I just want to share with you, because I've done some small groups around this, and I've also done one-on-one coaching with some of my coaches in my spiritual practice as well. But these are some of the answers that I've gotten before. They always heard money is the root of all evil. They heard things like rich people are greedy, or they hear the term filthy rich. Another one, and this is one that I had definitely for sure growing up, is that you have to work really hard to make a lot of money. So my dad worked 3 jobs. My mom also worked, and we still didn't really make ends meet growing up. So another one that parents have said a lot is money doesn't grow on trees. So as a child, when you ask for something, what do you think, money grows on trees? That type of thing. There's never enough. And I would say the number one thing that creates this lack thinking that is in our subconscious is we can't afford that. So that's one side of it. Now, if you grew up wealthy, for example, some of the things I've had people say is that they were actually hit it, or people would come over and go, oh, wow, you have a big house, or they would be jealous. Or one woman I was working with, she drives a BMW, and she notices that she always hides it. Or when she's around certain friends, she doesn't like to flaunt her money because it makes her feel uncomfortable. So what happens with these lack and limitation thinking is that in our Beachbody business, you will create a subconscious block to how much money that you can make. And we've taken all of these programming thinking that we've heard all over the years, that we have to work extra hard. We have to work 9 to 5. We have to work 3 jobs. Or that there's never enough money, or we can't afford it, or whatever those thoughts are. Tracking where they come from, you can change the way that you're going to be able to manifest more abundance and more money in your business by just having awareness of it and watching where that comes from. So a real easy way to do that is to start with Shakeology. It's super easy. I mean, because if you think that Shakeology is too expensive, that's in your subconscious somewhere, that came from somewhere else, and you're going to attract people into your business who also think Shakeology is too expensive. Your team, the people that you attract into your challenge groups, the people that you attract as coaches on your team, will reflect back to you what you need to heal and grow. Because the law of attraction is like attracts like. So if you, for example, attract a lot of go-getters, you're probably a go-getter. If you attract a lot of people who don't show up, there's probably a lot of areas in your life that you're not showing up. If you attract people who are complaining all the time, what are you complaining about? So it's not a way to beat yourself up and make yourself feel even worse. What you want to do is you want to go, isn't that interesting? Have awareness of the thoughts that are popping into your head. And by having that awareness, you can start journaling and start working with some personal development books that I'll pop on the Team Arise page that I have found really helpful for reprogramming your prosperity mind. So what you want to do is have a transformation from lack and limitation, which means there's not enough, which equates I'm not good enough to earn this money, and that I have to work really, really hard to earn it, and maybe that it's not even possible for me to earn it. That's lack and limitation. So for me, when I made $2,000 a week, that was enough. That was the most I've ever made. That was enough. How can I be greedy and want more? Those were the thoughts that I had to look at, like, I'm good. And I could be comfortable. I doubled my income, pretty darn good. I had to work to get to $6,000 a week. Really, really hard. And I had to look at what were the blocks in there. And it came from a lot of my upbringing around spiritual beliefs that I didn't want to be greedy. I didn't want to be selfish. So once I worked through those, my income went up to the next level, and I still work with it to this day, because I'd really like to get to 10,000, which would be really nice. But so you have to be able to be willing to look at it as it comes. So you want to change that lack and limitation mentality that we have in our subconscious programming over to abundance and prosperity thinking. And what does that mean for you? Because sometimes it means reminding ourselves that the more money we have, the less stress we have. The more money we have, we can quit our other job and help more people. The more money that we have, I can be a better person and kinder to other people because I'm not stressed about money all the time and all my credit card debt. Another viewpoint may be, I give to a lot of charities now. I was never able to do that before, and that feels really good. So I have cultivated an abundance mentality, and it's taken work. So working with how much you would like to earn in this business, and then really sitting down with that and asking those questions. First of all, do I believe that I can? And secondly, am I worth it? And if you're coming back with no's on any of that, go back and do some of these questions, read some of these books I'm going to recommend. Rose is going to share some of the things that she has learned from Tony Robbins, I'm sure, and then this recent workshop, to be able to just be willing to accept that we all come with this programming. It can be from teachers, it can be for siblings, it can be from anyone, and be willing to grow and expand and break through that ceiling of your earning potential, because the sky's the limit when it comes right down to it, that you can do. This is a very prosperous business, and your earning potential is just always comes down to your own mindset. So Rosa, do you want to expand on any of that or add to?
I mean, since we have you here, I was just gonna, I know you have to leave at 9. I was just gonna kind of open it up, because they hear me talk all the time. Open it up, see if anybody has any questions or any, were those questions that Lisa asked, like, did you pull stuff and go, oh, that's where it came from? Because I even had that, and I've been, working on it for, not too long. But so yeah, I'm going to open it up if you guys have anything that you want to share or any questions you want to ask Lisa. Don't everyone speak at once.
Do we have a chat box? No, we don't. Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
All right, so if you guys are more comfortable, just put in the chat box. Did you have an aha moment with any of those questions? Were you able to see any areas that you're creating lack? And you can just type a yes or a no.
I'll actually speak out loud. So all of mine came back negative for how you view money. So like number one, I got like snooty, show off. People with money don't know how to interact with those who are poor or don't have as much money as them. Money's a make or break. Either you have it or you don't. And it kind of, if you have money, determines where your future's going to go. Because I feel like with some things that you see, you have to make money, have money to make money. like with investments and that kind of thing. And growing up, that people with money are too good for you and they act like they're too good, just kind of show it off. But then, of course, when I saw, if I can make a lot of money, that would be amazing. So then that's really the only positive thing I got out of it. And then with spiritual, money can be idolized and lead to things that you don't believe in because people with money are pushing you to do this. And so that's really where a lot of mine is coming from.
Yeah, excellent. I would say I had a lot of the same ones, and now I work with different levels. So I would recommend definitely, I'm going to put it in the group, but I love this book. It's called Money, A Love Story, and it's by Kate Northrup. And some of the questions I got from her book, and it's a real feminine approach, which is nice because it's soft. I find that a lot of money books that I read are hard, and even if they're about breaking through false belief systems, they're about just get through it and make more and make more. Like there's this big masculine push to be a millionaire, for example. Whereas with her, I find her approach very softer. Like, let's have some compassion for ourselves about where it came from and do some self-exploration, because you growing up that rich people are snobby and that there's this certain view that society has on people who have money, driving nice cars, doing all these certain things, is the same as my mentality that you have to work 3 jobs to get anywhere in life, and that I was told my whole life that we can't afford anything. So that programming in my psychology was that life is hard, and there's always going to be challenges, and you just never make it to the other side. So I had to do a lot of reprogramming. So with you sharing what you just shared, the next step would be open to really sit down and dig into that. And I think that would be really good. Did you have any specific questions for me?
No, not really. Those are just ones I had. And so it was kind of like a breakthrough for me that I just see where I need to work on some of those things. So.
Acknowledging it in the first place is what is like the first step. And the book that me and Leah are reading is Get Rich Lucky Bitch. And I really do like the way, kind of like Lisa was saying, she speaks of it in the feminine way. I read a book called Millionaire Minds or something like that. It was good, but I can kind of see the difference. He's like, oh, get him. And he even has that kind of like,
I have a millionaire mind. Yeah.
But yeah, acknowledging it first. And then what the lady did in the Get Rich Lucky Bitch is she makes you like forgive, right? So like I had to think back, like, why do I think mean people are mean and snobby? And because it's my brother. He's like, he has that like snobby, rich attitude towards him. And then the third, like that part of forgiveness. So I have to like forgive my brother. I have to let it go. I have to release it. And it's not even that I forgive him. It's more of that I forgive myself for thinking that way. So, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think I was watching like something with Oprah last night on how like, how do people like forgive people that like killed their sister or brother? It's not that you're forgiving the murderer. It's you're releasing that like burden on yourself. And then she also talked about tapping. I don't know if Lisa, you've done any like work with that, like tapping.
A lot.
Okay.
You
have like 5 minutes if you want to explain that? Do you think
EFT is an emotional freedom technique, and it's a tapping. You can, I think his name is Josh Bates and Jessica Ortner, Nick Ortner. If you YouTube any of them, Brad Yates is the other guy. They're big YouTubers on it, and those are the big 3 names anyway. And they did a study in England, actually, that when we have a long history of subconscious programming into our mental state, that if you, while you're saying the thought patterns, you do tapping on different parts of your body that send signals to your neurological system to break the pattern, and then you replace them with positive thinking by the end. And so there's a psychological response. So for example, if as a child you get hurt and you are given chocolate because you got hurt, then that whole process creates a neurological programming in your system, so that it's that cause and effect. Whenever I think this, I feel this, because all our feelings come from a series of thoughts. So when you break I think it's neurotransmitters, by interrupting the flow with different tapping points, you're breaking that connection so that you no longer associate chocolate with my reward for getting hurt. And you're breaking it. So it's a very interesting technique, studied a lot, actually, and it's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. The other approach is that, the first step is to catch your thoughts, and in the first few days, you might want to just have a notebook in your kitchen or in your office. And anytime you come across anything related to money or making money or your earning potential, or let's say you're sitting down to pay your bills and the thought comes, I never have enough, and there's frustration there. The first step is to say, oh, wow, I'm feeling frustrated because there's not enough in my bank account. And to replace that, take a deep breath and to just say, I always have more than enough money. And if that's not believable for you, then another way to say it would be, I always trust that I will be abundantly provided for. And if you have faith and you believe in God, for example, and you have that strong connection, I have faith that God will take care of me. Whatever your belief system is, you can say it. The way that you say it is important, because it has to be something that you can believe for yourself. So if we're doing affirmations and there's no connection because we kind of really don't believe it, and you're just saying the affirmations for the act of saying affirmations, faking it till you make it, hoping that you get there one day, it's not doing anything to change your programming long term. So you have to say it in a way that makes you feel calm, safe, and that everything is going to be okay. So again, that's that feminine, softer approach, because what you're really doing when it comes right down to it, and I'll try not to get too deep, Rose, but we all have an inner child inside of ourselves who has heard different beliefs about money, witnessed different things about money, and experienced different things around money. Whether or not you were just a witness to a conversation between your parents, for example, or between your sibling, your brother. We've taken this all in. So as an adult, we need to learn how to parent that child within ourselves. And the best way is not aggressively. It's to have compassion. I know you're scared. Okay, little Lisa, I know you're scared. I know that there's a feeling that there's not enough. Totally understand it. But you know what? We're going to be totally okay. And so those are some of the things that you can start doing right away in any area of your business, not just earning potential. It can be in any area.
Love it. Good stuff, Lisa. I know you have to hop off, but
I can do a few more minutes. They don't, my class doesn't ever start on time. If you want, or you can kick me off.
No, I mean, stay as long as long.
Let me just check the chat box. Someone wrote, I literally wrote down, it's the root of all evil, Southern Bible. Yeah, so so that person will have a little bit more digging. I highly recommend starting with that book and starting to dive into reprogramming or softening those beliefs that were passed on to you. And like I was sharing before, the biggest thing that I always had to remind myself, and to this day I always have to remind myself, is that God wants us to be abundant, and the more abundant we are, the more in service we can be to other people. When we're poor and small and hiding, we're not of service to other people. I mean, come on, it's so true. Like, but when you're bright and shiny and helping and giving and loving and it feels so good to write checks to charity. That's how we're supposed to live. Yes, I serve, I deserve. I love that. I love that. So the other thing too, just before I go, is then I got to the other side and was making good money and realizing where was it all going. I was like, and realizing that I had spending habits that I had to change. Even though I was making more money, I was spending more and still not good at saving, and that didn't change. And the best book for that is The Millionaire Next Door. That book helped me a lot. And ever since I read that book, I actually listened to it on audio. My spending habits are so much better, and my bank account is much higher. Oh, here it is. It's The Millionaire Next Door, The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealthy by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. And I can put these 3 books that I recommend in the team page. But there's always layers to it. And now I'm at a point now where I reached another ceiling and I still have some spending beliefs that I have to go back to. So it's just growing. So Jess, I am similar to you, Lisa, that I watched my dad work 3 or 4 jobs, plus side jobs. Yes, he had side jobs too. And heard growing up that money doesn't grow on trees. But we never were made to feel that we were without, and never knew that we were struggling or poor. So kudos to your parents for doing that for you, but you still witnessed it. So it's still in your subconscious programming that you, and you talked about this actually on the mastermind group a couple of weeks ago when you spoke about your dad, not to put you on the spot, but the work ethic, work hard, work hard, work hard. It's very masculine. That's very, that's the kind of programming that will create burnout in this business. If Rose hadn't assigned me a topic today, I was going to talk about, which I'm glad we did, but what I was thinking was how to simplify the business. Like, I really think we overcomplicate it and then we end up being burnt out. Our main objection is to create relationships and help people. So yeah, Jess, I'm sure you can't talk because of maybe Evie, but yeah, so you definitely still have programming because it's either what you heard, what you witnessed, or what you experienced. Those are the 3 areas.
Anybody else? Leah, are you able to talk?
I'll share what mine was, which was not what I was thinking that it was going to be, which is surprising. So when you asked what I think about rich people, the first thing that came to my mind was that they are ungrateful and that money is given to them and that they're like in wealth, that it's not earned, which made me kind of think back. As a kid, I never really knew, only people that were rich were wealthy from their families. It's like they were, had their parents had money, grandparents had money. All the women never like worked, like they weren't women, but business women that like worked and earned the money. And so only all the females that I ever knew, I think growing up, was like a stay-at-home mom that to me, I always like resented. It made me think, because I still like, I catch myself all the time now that I'm a stay-at-home working mom. I catch myself, and as soon as I see someone out and they look a certain way, I immediately assume that they're a wealthy stay-at-home mom, which makes me think like, wow, that it goes back to that, which obviously it's totally not true. There's so many women that have earned, and I bust my butt to earn, but it makes me think that there's like a block that earning doesn't matter, that it's almost like it's given or something like that.
Yeah, that could be too, if you're lucky, only lucky people born into the family's trust fund, that type of thing. Or that you have to work really, really super hard to get what they're just given.
Right.
Because lack and limitation thinking can also be our thoughts about poor people too, that will keep us poor, like humble, small, comfortable. So for me, that came up a lot with what I was talking about before. $1,000 a week is good. That's good. Thank you. I'll leave now. No, I'm so grateful for it. Thank you. Because it was almost a way that otherwise I would have felt selfish. Like, why is that not enough? There's so many starving people. So to me, when you shared that, it sounded like twofold. There's some thoughts there that from your programming about wealthy stay-at-home moms, and then there's a programming about struggling stay-at-home moms. So for you to look at that on both sides. Thanks for sharing. That was really good. Isn't it amazing, like when you look at a bunch of questions, what comes up that you didn't even know was there? So before I go, I'll just read the rest of the questions that you guys can work with at home. People who have jobs in service are, so that's kind of like the thinking that that's keeping small and humble. I've always associated money with, that's pretty similar. My experience around people who seem to have a lot of money has been, and Leah, you just described that perfectly. It's good for other people in the group to look at. Did you watch them from afar? Or were they in your neighborhood? Were they in a completely different neighborhood? Or was that did you grow up that way? And how did it feel when you're around people who didn't? Because it can be both ways. So, and then the other questions were kind of similar. But great. So, Jessica. That's a good one. So for the recording, Jess is saying, my experience with people, around a lot of people with money is uncomfortable, and I feel like I don't belong. So I ran prosperity, it's called the 4T Prosperity Program, with a local church and my spiritual community. I've done it probably 4 times, leading the class or co-leading it. And one of the things that he has you do as part of practicing cultivating a prosperous mind is to go to expensive restaurants and expensive hotels and just sit there and see what comes up for you. See how it feels. And then he says it's really good to save up an X amount of dollars to go to a really expensive restaurant and just pick anything off the menu without looking at the price, like anything that you'd want, and enjoy, if it's a steak dinner you want with a glass of wine, and really take it all in and experience what it would feel like. And it's not about frivolous spending. What it's about is changing or having the awareness of how you feel in those certain atmospheres. And the third exercise he would have us all do is to drive to a wealthy neighborhood, park your car, and then go for a walk around the neighborhood and see what it brings up for you. It's not anything other than awareness, because we can't change anything unless we're aware first. So if you go to a fancy hotel, what came up for you? How does it feel? How did it feel being there? Did you feel like Jess is saying that I don't belong? Did you feel fake? Did you feel whatever comes up for you? Or, did you feel like, woohoo, yeah, I can't wait to get here. I know this is going to be so awesome. I'm totally buying those shoes and that purse. And, and if you feel that, get excited about that and learn to cultivate that in your life more. So it becomes, because abundance thinking isn't just about money. Again, it's about what you can give. It's about your heart opening up. It's about allowing more opportunities to come in. Abundance is not just money. It's allowing the flow of inspiration and intuition to come in. It's all of that. Okay, so Jess is saying, Kim was saying she feels intimidated, very common. Jess is saying we stayed at the Ritz in New Orleans and we used the points. And she was saying, yes, I would be there again. Yeah, it was totally a new experience for me, and it felt really good. And I did the pendulum swing, and I spent way too much money, but now I'm way over here now where I'm balancing, but it was fun. But because I allowed myself to have fun with that, it really expanded my consciousness of wanting to prosperity. So, good one, Rose. We got on a roll there.
What?
We got on a roll. So I'm going to thank you guys so much. I'm going to hop off. You guys can finish your stuff, and I'll catch the recording after.
Thanks, Lisa, so much.
Thank you. That was fun.
If you guys want to stay on, we can chit chat some more. I know I wanted to just share when I went to Las Vegas this week, and even when I went to last leadership, I was right next to Janelle Summers, and she had her whole entourage of Louis Vuitton bags. I'm like, oh my God, I so don't belong. And kind of like Kim was saying, I just felt very intimidated. And even this time, I felt a little less intimidated, but still I felt like they were unapproachable. So that's definitely something I know I still have to work on, because I don't want to be unapproachable. I want to be approachable. I want people to not look at me how I guess I look at them. So I think we all have a lot more. We have a lot more issues than we think, but we all have them, so it's all good. Leah, did you want to say anything about what we learned in New York?
Let's see here.
A really cool thing she had us do was stand up, and and she told us to do this as an exercise every single day. So first thing as you get up, look in the mirror and look yourself in the eye and say, this is what a wealthy woman looks like. And see, do you laugh? Do you look away? How does that make you feel? So every time, you catch yourself in the mirror, say that. This is what a wealthy woman looks like. Because we all have that picture in our head, right? Of what does a wealthy woman looks like? For me, it's a chick with a Louis Vuitton bag. But do that exercise. And I think it really, all of this just takes some work. And like Lisa said, I mean, Lisa makes an amazing amount with Beachbody, but there's always going to be some sort of block and barrier that you just need to work through. We can just end it here. All right, ladies. Or did Julie have a question? I don't know. Or maybe I think she was driving and she just raised her hand. All right, I think we're good, right, Leia?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't have any announcements. My head's all like jumbled off from leadership anyways, but I'm going to, as you guys are seeing, like I'm like whatever is like coming to my mind, I'm just posting in the team page. So if it's like information overload, like just if there's one thing that I post this entire week that is for you, then awesome. I'm not saying to do every single thing that I post in the team page. It's just for me to share, to get it out there, for me to feel like I went there for a purpose to bring something back for you guys. So just, use one thing. You don't have to use everything. And I posted in the team page, I'll be doing one-on-one mentoring calls for the rest of the year. So make sure that you click on the scheduler. I'll be going through and looking at who I'll be accepting, and I'll be messaging you guys after you fill out that little questionnaire at the end. And then, yeah, I think that's all I got. Thanks for hopping on, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.